All right, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I see some new folks on, and I see some of our regulars. It's so wonderful to have you all join. Welcome back. We missed seeing you all last week, and we appreciate your flexibility. Today is a really amazing session because interactive notebooks, you may or may not have already used them in your classrooms before. And we're excited to share that you can continue using them, and inshallah you're going to walk away with some amazing templates too that we'll be able to email to you after this session. So feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat box. Sophia, I've actually got a few slides that I wanted to share about interactive notebooks. So if you don't mind holding on your share screen, I'll go ahead and share mine and just share a little bit of background, probably stuff you guys already know. Sister Sophia? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead since I'm the main person here. I think I can do that. Give me just a second as I bring up my, Sophia, could I have you stop your shared screen? All right, Sophia, over to you on building our own digital interactive notebooks. Sophia, you're muted.
Okay, there you go. So thank you, Jazakallah, so much for joining in today. I'm going to be building an interactive notebook along with sharing a little bit more information about interactive notebooks. And then at the end, inshallah, Shaza will be sharing templates that you guys can use. So today's format is a little bit different from the past ones. You're not going to be building and creating at the same time during the session, but I'm going to try to leave enough time towards the end so that you can ask questions and then work on it independently. And you'll have my email address information so you can reach out afterwards. So interactive notebooks, Shaza gave you some brief information about that, but for me, the biggest thing that, interactive notebooks kind of solves for me is the questions when students say, I can't find my notes, I can't find my handout, I don't remember what I did in class yesterday, that's a big one, or I was absent, did I miss anything? Of course. And oh, well, I'm sure I left my worksheet in my backpack or in my room or in my bag. So this will take all of that information and consolidate it in one place. Now, it will get everything kind of connected, and it works for students for different brains. You have a left brain and right brain learners kind of putting all that information together in a more interactive and visual way for those type of learners. So it is a very brain-based method. I'm going to share just a quick video, and hopefully the audio works on this okay. I'm going to keep it minimal just because it gives me a little bit more control over the slides. Let me know if you can't hear it.
Interactive notebooks also allow students to be active participants in their learning. Teachers can easily differentiate the pages to address the individual needs of their students. And the interactive, easily personalized format makes these resources ideal for engaging students in learning new concepts. They're also a perfect resource to use as reference and review throughout the year.
So fairly quick clip. I didn't put a lot of details there, but I liked the imagery where you can see the physical pages. So if you haven't used interactive notebooks, this kind of shows you that, they're manipulated. Now, in transitioning to a digital world, or hybrid at least, you need to be able to use that same concepts, that same research, but make it available for students to where it's easy for us as educators to also grade that material. I know one of the biggest things for me was I was getting really frustrated with the amount of pictures I was getting on my phone with WhatsApp and text messages and email in one place and turn it in one place, and the students weren't overwhelmingly keeping all their work together. And they couldn't find even those resources and the images that they sent me because it was on a mom's phone, and when they were looking for it, they couldn't find it. So putting it all in one place will really help your students, and it will help your sanity because you can just open up that file where they have their kind of interactive notebook and find the work that you're getting to. So we're going to dive right in. When we did the Bitmoji training, we learned some basic skills, how to search for an image, how to add hyperlinks, how to add videos. So we're going to be using those skills along with the skills that we learned when we did the Google Docs add-ons, which was how to maximize our Chrome, using extensions, how to search for add-ons, how to integrate the learning that we're delivering with other apps. We're going to use all of that together to make our interactive notebooks. Now, this is the old method where it's a paper notebook, and I love interactive notebooks. I'm going to be using them when we get back to the classroom as well, inshallah. That way we're a little bit away from the screens with all of these screens. But in the meanwhile, I want my students to be able to use that same research-based methods to show their learning. So I have quite a few different templates that I'm going to be sharing, and I am using this one right here. Let me open it up. Okay. So I'm going to be building mine at the same time as, you guys just kind of watch me build it. And from that, then we can ask questions, and I'll leave enough time at the end that I'll be able to send it out to you. So this is just one basic template. It has tabs. They're all hyperlinked, so that if I sent this as a PDF and I decided to build it up, put all of the documents, all of the data and everything for the students ahead of time, they could click through it and it's all of their notes in one place. However, I'm going to use it more as an interactive way as we are learning, for like a unit. So I'm going to start with my title. I'm going to use my social studies. We're using TCI History Alive, and I'm really needing to do this. So this is me working at the same time while I'm sharing with you guys. Our next section is Roman Catholic Church in Medieval Europe. And that is what I'm going to put as my title. Where is it? Okay. So actually this is just kind of Europe in medieval times. So by working through the template, it will show you guys how you can be editing and how you'd be using it, and then I'll be giving you a couple different versions. So this first one is section 1. So the students could click on this purple tab and they know it's going to take them over here where it says section 1. Mine says map, so I'm going to edit that to match, okay? Then there's a welcome page. It says to kind of replace the tabs, you can hit edit. You could do a basic search where you do Control F and find everywhere where it says science, and it would replace it all. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. I'm going to search the word science, S-C-I-E-N-C, or actually that's Control R because it's replace. And something happened. Oh, I just refreshed it. Okay, I'm not doing that. But you could search for every word that has that word science, and it would replace it all. I'm going to go step by step. So here's section 1. Here's the first page of this template. So with the digital interactive notebooks, I always have my students have a table of contents. That table of contents allows them to stay organized, use it like a textbook built in with their note pages. I'm going to show you, this is our ELA textbook that we're using. It's my perspectives, but it's kind of built the same way in that you have all of the students, their grammar, their reading, their stories that they're reading, but at the same time, it's interactive because this is a paperback copy. They can write in it, they can highlight, they can cut it up. I mean, it's fully embedded to, give them that functionality. So instead of having this big thing now, instead of that, you're doing it all online, but you're having to build it up. So on this page, Unit 1, Unit 2, instead of Unit 1, Unit 2, I'm going to just skip out my title because I don't have all my content in front of me, and I'm going to come back to my table of contents. And this is why we're not building everything together right now, because I want you to really reflect and think about what information you want to share in your notebooks. Now, it could be done by units, it could be done by weekly basis, it could be done by semester, or even by subjects. Like this is your math notebook, science notebook, language arts notebooks, and the students would be opening it up as they need it. So this is the first page for the map. It said math. I'm going to switch that again for section 1. Now there's no contents. There's these post-its right here. So it says, place instructions and notes outside the side limits. And what am I going to put in my section 1 now? I need to have information there for the students. So this week we're in class. I had some slides that I shared with the students and we discussed the text, but I want them to be able to do a basic, kind of our old school worksheets without having them to send a picture, print it out, and write it out. So I have the PDF of that worksheet right here. And it says, draw a simple symbol, illustrate the meaning, and write a sentence to explain it. So using some of the skills that we had before, one of our extensions was this snapshot. So I'm going to take a screen capture of this page, and I am cropping it just to kind of have the image that I want. I don't want the entire page. I really just want this part of it. I don't want to have to make a brand new chart. We don't have the time to recreate the wheel and to go through all of that. So I'm just taking that little bit right there, and I'm going to download that image and save it onto my computer. Now I'm going to add it into my interactive notebook. So using the skills that we learned when we did the Bitmoji class, we have image, upload from computer, and that was my most recent screen capture that I just did. So that should be right here. Ta-da! So now it's right here on my page. And this does take a little bit of, or a lot of it pre-planning, having everything to go. But once you have everything put in place, you won't have to worry about it for a while. So this directions, I could actually just type that right here on the slide or on the little Post-it, and I'm going to, it says draw a symbol. I'm going to say insert a picture. And this is awesome because this is saving me on my planning and prep time. So I'm so excited about this. I won't have to worry about doing this later for my students. Insert a picture or a symbol that illustrates the meaning of each of these 7. And the text is too big. Now you don't have to use these Post-its. I think they're cute. You could just, have the information in a text box or on the side. This just gives it a little bit of a more school element to where it feels like it's a real Post-it right there. And because I don't need the instructions, I'm going to go ahead and crop that off now. There we go. So now this is just an image. For them to be able to make the changes, we're going to need to add text boxes. So we have the text symbol up there, and I'm going to place a text box into every single one of those sections. So when my students click on the slide, that text box is ready to go. Now I am training my students. They're older, they're in 7th grade, so they know that, they're going to be trained on how to add text boxes. So I may not put them in every single page and on every single element, but right now what I'm doing the quick Control-C and Control-V, and I'm copying that text box into every part of that worksheet. And that one will stay there. So now anywhere where my students click, they're able to type in that 1-sentence explanation. And here, all they're gonna do on this part is they're gonna insert an image. So what's an image that we can think of, or a symbol that can explain baptism? Maybe they'll find an image of a cross. So they'll insert that symbol there, and then they're going to add the explanation. So first page of the interactive notebook is done. And that's my section 1. So now the next part of mine, I might not, continue to have multiple pages for each section because I'm just going to do it by section. And maybe my notebook is only for this one chapter. It's just for Europe and medieval times. It's not for anything else. So I might delete a couple pages in the middle. I haven't decided that yet, so I'm not deleting it just yet. And this next page becomes, this next main indicator is section 2. So if it's saved as a PDF and my students click on this page right there, it's going to say section 2. I know I'm going a little fast, but that's because I want to make sure I keep enough time to answer as many questions as possible towards the end. And then I could add the next page for, for them to build off of. If I go back to my PDFs right here, these are your basic worksheets. Now you have questions, you can add questions for the students, and then they could add them, they could type it, but I like the interactive element of them writing in the text boxes. They could also have, you can integrate Google Drawings into it, so that's one thing that I want to try to show you. If I do, let's see, label the appropriate parts of the image, so we could try something like that. Let's go here, back to my page, and now I'm on the second part of section 2. And I didn't do a Control-R where I replaced everywhere where it says the word map. So I'm just going to have to type the word section 2 again, because this is all in the same, same file. And now you can insert other elements. So if I saved a picture of a map, I could put a map and have them label the map. If I had a Google drawing, and this is where it really is important to use your add-ons and use your extensions. So there's add-ons right here. It says Google add-ons, and you can add more add-ons. I believe my suite that we had at our school was recently blocked, so they've opened up most of them. So there's Pear Deck. If you're a Pear Deck user, you can add quizzes into it along with Nearpods, which allows for videos to be enabled, and polls for your students. There's diagrams. So play through the G Suite Marketplace and see what options are available for you to add for your students. There's a word cloud generator. But for some of them, you would need a subscription and an account. So for example, Nearpod, unless your school has a Nearpod account, you're not going to be able to insert that into the slide. But just like I inserted a video, I could do the same thing for my students. So maybe I want to add my notes. It's not only them doing their worksheets, it's also notes and information for them to share, or information that you want to share to them. So I'm going to put insert and a video, and maybe roll Europe. And I probably will change this link later because I'm not going to watch it right now. So I'm not really sure if this is obviously what I want to show them, but I could include a video for them and then put a text box with directions of what I want them to do after they watch the video, or just write quick summary. And then now the students not only have their information that they learned, but they also have their reflections all in one spot. So this is a place where you can build in the notes, the material, and their work all together. So when their parents ask, what did you learn, or where is this file, they know all they have to open up is this one notebook, and it includes everything. And just depending on how you set it up, you have that flexibility. One of the other tools I'm going to be sharing with you is this digital learning notebook kind of tutorial for your students. This allows them to personalize their notebook as though if they were in school. There's some stickers ready to go. They're welcome to find other images, but that makes them, feel a little bit more connected to it. And then it includes some tutorials for them as well that shares about what they can do in Google Slides in terms of the toolbars. It shows them how to manipulate the notebook in terms of adding images and inserting images, erasing. It also has some basic tips and tricks on how to take screenshots of their work and how to upload pictures. So if they did something by hand, because you don't want them on the screen so much, they can draw something out by hand, take a picture, and insert that picture into the notebook. But it still keeps all of their work in one kind of big, nice, happy place. Okay, and that's where I'm gonna kind of pause for a moment. And I know that was a lot. I'm going to open up some files to share in the meanwhile, and I know Shaza, you might want to interject for a bit, and I'm going to let you guys take a minute, kind of absorb it all. And
thank you so much, Sophia. We have a question here. What grade level is this digital notebook for? And then maybe you want to just broadly talk about what grade levels you think digital notebooks could be used for.
So actual interactive notebooks at schools, I've used them from about kindergarten all the way up to 8th and 9th grade myself, because you have high schoolers who are still, forgetting their materials and not knowing where they are. Because of the interactive nature of it and having to really manipulate clicking and typing in the boxes, I think K1 might have trouble with that, especially as they're still getting used to computers. I would say start at 2nd grade. If you wanted to start earlier for them, you would really have to make sure your text boxes are, ready to go. And it still might not work for a parent who might be observing them that, are facilitating their learning. They might not necessarily have that same text skills. They might accidentally click on the box and move it and then be like, wait, what am I doing here? So that is something to keep in mind. You could also kind of go through and group all of the text boxes, and that way, they can't move it around. But it's just something to keep in mind that not everyone will have those same tech abilities, which is why I'm including this quick tutorial that you can send your students. And I think, because there is a lot of flexibility in how you want to create it. If you wanted to go with K1, it could be a great place to put a lot of information for them and even maybe allow them to upload work, but maybe not as much clickable work like this. You could put videos for them all in one place. I know, for example, the Quran teachers at our school, they have their own YouTube page where they are building their curriculum through videos that they're creating themselves. Now, instead of sending 15 links to every student every single time there is a new link, if they transition to an interactive notebook, every single page of the notebook could have, you know, this is Quranic phonics letter Jim, and here is their video, and here's information. And then the next page has the next link to the video. So it's a good way to compile all that information too. And I think in that purposes, you could use it for kindergarten up.
So just modifying the ways in which it's being developed and then distributed to the students depending on age. I think that that's really important. That's good. And then where do these notebooks get stored? Sister Muslimatu is asking for them to keep accessing and working on.
So for my students, I have them in their own Google Drives. They have school email addresses. Now, if your students don't have that, you could tell them keep it on their drive. It really depends on what platform you're using. A lot of us are using Google Classroom, so in that sense, you know, it's on their drive. For me, if I'm preloading it with information and text, like videos and material for them to read, if I'm having it ready to go and they're not interacting with it, all they're doing is clicking on the links and the images. If that was a situation, I would probably post it in your Google Classroom under a material, or you could send it to the parents, like here's all the notes and all of the learning we're going to do. For our ELA curriculum in the past, we never had a textbook. It's been more standards-based where we're pulling the material ourselves and cultivating and making it our own. So in the past, it was extremely helpful to have something like an interactive notebook because I was able to put all information from 1,000 different sources all together, and they had a fully cultivated curriculum that I made themselves in their one notebook. So if your situation is like that, to where you don't have a, you know, one hard curriculum book, that is also another great way to use the interactive notebooks because you're able to compile a lot of different information in one area.
And so since they're being stored on the Google Drive, they are automatically updating when students add to it.
Yes. And they'll be saved, and then as long as you have access to that file, you're able to check it at any point in time.
It doesn't affect everybody else's, like you have one file, they have to make a copy of it, right? For them
they
to
have to make a copy.
Okay.
Well, if you're uploading it on Google Classroom, it gives you the option to hit, you know, make a copy for each student. So it'll automatically have, every student will have their own copy. There is another extension, and I haven't tried it yet. So inshallah, we're going to be continuing these sessions, hopefully, and then I can share more that if you wanted to make a change to your notebook after you've already sent it, it will allow you to push new slides into their documents. But I haven't played around with it. I'm excited about it. So I'm going to play around, and if it works, then I can't wait to share it with you guys.
Sure. And then I'm just kind of reading off of the chat too. So
thank you.
Sister Muslimatu said that she checks her students' notebooks in the classroom, like physically in a classroom.
Right.
How does she check it when it's on a drive? So maybe she hasn't used Drive before within the Google Classroom.
Okay.
Or maybe they don't have Google Classroom set up.
Okay.
I have Google Classroom.
Okay.
I'm talking about, I've always used an actual notebook in the room.
Right.
And I've done notebook checks to make sure they have the information because I have them use it when we're doing assessments and reviews and finals. So I'm asking, how do I go on their individual drive, or do I?
Okay. I can show you real quick. I'm not going to open up, you know, due to privacy concerns for my students, I'm not going to open up their full files, but I can show you really quickly.
Thank you.
And I'll pause the recording. Sophie, do you think I need to pause it? Okay.
Let's just pause that. I'm going to go back and share my screen.
Right. And we're back in our recording phase, so go for it.
Wait, let's stop the recording just real quick while I share.
So the question, Sahar, can you repeat your question?
How do you insert a specific page into the student notebook? How would a student do that?
Okay, so let me re-ask your question. For a student to do that, are they inserting a page from a notebook or a page of their own work, or are they inserting a slide from something else?
So basically, I just want to give them, so you know how in the classroom we would give them a worksheet that they would put into their interactive notebook? I'm just trying to figure out how would I do that digitally? How would I give them the material to insert into their notebook?
Okay, so if you already have those worksheets, before you give them this notebook, you're going to insert all the worksheets ahead of time. So all the worksheets that you're planning on using, you're going to insert as images the way we did that together. That's
And you can't do it beforehand. What would you recommend? Because you know if you're running to the copy machine last minute or whatever.
Right. So if you can't do it beforehand, then you could send it as an individual worksheet where they're going to just have to take, you know, insert that as an image. So just kind of like if you just sent them this, like here's this worksheet, fill it out and put it into your notebook. So you would need to train them on how to take a snapshot and upload that snapshot. And the fastest way I would say that, instead of like trying to teach them to do a snipping tool or anything like that, is here is your, you know, snapshots extension, and you're going to take a picture of your work and you're going to upload it into that notebook. So, I mean, we spent a solid 1 day with my students on slides. I spent 1 day on Google Classroom. I spent 1 day on Google Docs, and every single one of these elements I did completely separately with my students because I want them to be very inept with it. And now that we're doing notebooks, we're going to be doing that with my students as well. Okay, so I didn't prop that correctly.
I have a question.
And they would
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My question is, if we have, just like what Sister Sophia, who was that, Sahar? So the same, if I have a notebook, can I save it so that I can edit it later on?
Yes, you can do that too, because if it's in Google Drive, you can always edit it.
If it's in Google Drive?
Yes. So as soon as
the same thing with slides.
You should be able to always update it. Yeah, so this, if I close it right now, it'll be saved, but I can update it again later.
And if I did update it, it's gonna take effect in the student's book as well?
Yes, it should. There is a new extension, the one that I was like, I haven't tried yet. It's called Slip and Slide, and I haven't tried it, but apparently it's supposed to allow you to, you know, real time send all students updates to their slides. So I haven't tried it yet, but this is supposed to make it an even more seamless process. Otherwise, the other option is when you do an update, and I don't even see it here, but I've heard, this is a Chrome web store, I have to look for it. It's called Slip and Slide, but whenever you make an update normally on your drive, it will update it on that entire document. So you could always reshare the updated document as well.
You passed the Slip and Slide, it was there.
I did, okay. So I have to play around with that extension, but I've heard from other teachers who are working and learning about interactive notebooks that they're using that extension, and they click on the Slip and Slide extension and it sends out the new slides to the students, but I haven't yet tried that myself.
You know, and I don't know if we need to say this, but somebody might think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use a whole class period teaching about how to copy and paste or how to, utilize this. But these are like essential, like it's like when, before a student gets into kindergarten, they learn how to use scissors, right? So these are the new tools that our students need to know how to use. And I think that just me kind of sitting on the back and on the outside, I just want to reaffirm to you all, if you have that voice in your head saying like, is this worth it? Like for us to have to spend that long? I mean, I even remember when I first learned that I'm supposed to teach my students, when I started teaching middle school, that you have to actually teach them how to take notes. And I feel like this is one of those things. This is taking digital notes or taking, whatever, but like these have to be explicitly taught.
So
I was trying Cornell Notes today with my student.
Yes.
And when I uploaded it, I couldn't get them, to interact with it. Even though I sent it to them through Google, I wasn't in Classroom, but some of them had problem downloading it. So we went back to the slides and then we did the questions and the answers on that.
Right. I mean, a lot of it has to go back to the basic explicit instruction. It's like any other procedure. Instead of them having to learn how to put their notebook in their desk and how to take the notebook out of their backpack every morning or where to turn it in the turning tray, now instead of teaching those skills, you're teaching them when you log into your classroom in the morning, every morning, no matter what, whether it's asynchronous, not synchronous, whether we're hybrid or in person, every morning you're going to be filling out your journal. And every morning you have 5 lines that you have to do for a grammar practice. I have a grammar journal that I make my students do as well. Like here's another, it's a blank sample journal. And you know, it tells gives basic instruction to the students, but it's plain notebook pages. And it has options to add drawings, and this is all the students have. So you can update it and edit it how you want, but it tells the students that this is my notebook and this is where I'm putting in all my information no matter what. Then it's just it's a process trying to teach them. But for me, now we are about week 4. We have our mid-progress results at our school this Friday, in 2 days, but we're week 4, and now the students have really gotten a good habit of daily. They have their grammar journal that I have an interactive grammar journal. We have the interactive writing journal, and then they have a couple other, you know, slide decks that I put together that they're working on. The one I haven't done yet is social studies, so I'm glad I got to start that with you.
Brother Yusuf is saying you can use this for digital portfolios as well. I really like that, Brother Yusuf. I'd be interested in hearing more.
Love that idea.
All right, Sophia, we got about 9 minutes to the top of the hour.
So these are just some of the templates. Shaza will be choosing the best ones, inshallah, and sending them to you guys. But I have them kind of sorted out: math, reading, ELA, science, and social studies. These are pre-created by other teachers. None of them are created by me. I've just been cultivating the resources. So some of them are blank templates that you can work off of to make your own, and they all have instructions. So for example, this is a superhero themed notebook. The other one I showed you looked like a basic comprehension note, composition notebook, the one that our students are used to looking at. There are others that I have on here that are already made for content, and there's pre-made content already put in, and you can edit and adjust however works for your students. So for example, this is a pre-made one that one teacher made for grammar. And it's like a fancy cover. It says you choose the own, whatever cover you want. And the teacher has already put in content on here. The reason I'm sharing some of these templates as well is so it gives you an idea of what type of resources you can put in and build into your own interactive notebooks. By looking at, exemplars, we're able to fix, kind of adjust our own methods and develop ourselves. So this grammar notebook has basic information on parts of speech, pronouns, and then there's blank pages. So these blank pages is where the students would put their work. So now it's teacher's notes and student notes. We have teacher notes on pronouns, and here's blank pages for students built in within it. So it's, an interesting format. There's videos that the teacher has found and she's put in. There's flow charts and bubbles. So I really like this one as an example. But if, when Shaza's going to go through it, she'll choose some really nice examples to show you guys so that you can think of all.
Thanks, Sophia, for offering that wonderful responsibility to me. I would love to invite anyone else who wants to help me with that task. Please write your name.
Look at this one. I love it. This is atomic structure in the periodic table, and this teacher put in a timeline in the notebook, So the possibilities are kind of endless, and this one, I think there's a chart, and the students write the atomic numbers. So you could just, just kind of develop it, and I don't know. I'm excited about them. I love them. I like looking at what other educators have created. Are you in work? Yes.
All right. So I just put in the chat, email me if you want to help me go through these templates. Maybe we'd have a timeline of trying to get it out by, go through them by Sunday. So the cool thing about that is that we'll share this drive with you, and you'll have access to all of it. But email me please at info@thisla.org, because I think our chat won't save, or it might, but I don't usually go through the chat. So if you do email me, thank you, Sahar. Thanks for offering. Cool.
I uploaded it for our teachers, and they were like, whoa, Sophia, that is a lot to take in.
Sometimes it's too much. Yeah, that's true. So having having selected ones is sometimes more helpful. But these are so exciting, Sophia. And I feel like one other thing that this really helps with is that like as a teacher, you're always accumulating more resources and trying to find the best things. And sometimes we struggle with our own organization. This kind of forces the organization for us too, as we hope to continue to teach the same grade or the same subject in future years, but we're always improving. So it kind of creates that compilation of different things.
For me, I feel like that it put everything together, because when I was teaching elementary, you know, we were doing Daily 5 and Daily Cafe. We were just using a lot of mix of different worksheets and different anchor books, and it was just whatever we created as teachers. So the next year teacher who comes in doesn't have anything, you know, it's just a sort of a little bit of a lesson plans, but the resources aren't really available. You know, it's all in the head of the teacher. But now when it's all built in together, you really are creating your own curriculum, and or you're putting it together in a nice way. So imagine if this continues the next year, you know, or even if it doesn't, all of your resources are put together in such a nice way that you have it forever and everything is compiled and ready to go for you. So it's a little bit of extra effort right now, but in the long run, everything is organized for you.
So Sister Sophia, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. We really appreciate you so much sharing with us, demoing how to create an interactive notebook. I appreciate